for Common Man. Common man, charge the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot? Where'd we play? Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh, boy. Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello.
Out of hundreds of deals that I've done.
Good, hundreds.
Mark, they can't pitch. They can't hit. What is with, I mean, come on.
Well, I read the USA Today and I read the New York Times. And I read those both every day. And I listen to music. I wouldn't really, it wouldn't do me any good to listen to talk shows, because what's great about America, everybody has an opinion. You know what I mean? But what's also great about America, you don't have to listen to them. And that's the great part.
I don't deal in speculation.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Lowercase d's.
You're breaking up, Bob.
You're breaking up.
Boy, how disappointing is that?
What are you doing?
We're the state of hockey, and I think that proves it, so.
We'll keep playing until someone puts the puck in the net. Lamb on the right side. In the corner, Oleksic. Schmidt now for Oleksic in behind. He centers. Yes! Kyle Schmidt! Cubs have won the championship! UNT has won the championship! Kyle Schmidt with the game winner! Yeah, baby!
Okay, calm down.
Quack, quack. Straight up. Cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, 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 cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in,
You like that? You like that?
He's the clown from Brown.
Correct.
He's the fourth in the North. This is the Common Man, Dan Cole.
So that would be me, a little ack-ack-a-dack and dack-dack-a-act. You and yours, ack-ack-a-dack, dack-dack-a-act is your password for tomfoolery and for skullduggery. It will also gain you admittance into a meeting of the Loyal Order of Water Buffalo. Ooh la la, ooh la la. I'm a radio dinosaur. The fan is my La Brea tar pit. There will come a day when archaeologists and paleontologists will sift through the rubble that will be 1600 Utica Avenue South, and they will they'll stumble across my skeletal remains and my cold, dead, fossilized lips attached to a Neumann BCM 104 microphone, and they'll say, "Egad, and a social commentator with an archaic communication device." I am uninformed, unprepared, and unrepentant about it. If you're looking for poised, professional, and polished, that comes up immediately following the Common Man program, Big Ticket and JG. That's from 3 until 6:30, though. Tenant B is my partner in crime, though he is guilty by association. He generally would like to prepare. He does prepare for most everything he does. And that's why he finds it uncomfortable working with the Common Man, despite the fact that, I don't know if you know this, Tenant B, we've been working together a little over 20 years now. It was 20 years ago, a week ago Sunday. Yeah. 20 years that you and I have been together. And I really like that the station really reached out. And you know how for the power trip, when they did a big celebration, took listeners to Vegas and had a big bon voyage.
Live remote at Treasure Island.
I was going to say, they had a bon voyage, a send-off from Treasure Island Resort and Casino down in Welch. And then they all went. They flew off in the Wild Blue Yonder down to Las Vegas. It was so much fun. And they were
Press, yoga fans.
Yeah, and they were just reliving the great 20 years that they had. And of course, not a peep when we spent 20 years together. And I know that's been difficult for you. We talked about how Carson Wentz grew up a Vikings fan and always wanted to play for the Vikings, and he finally got his wish this past Sunday. You always wanted to work for the Common Man, and you finally got your wish, and you wished it would have never happened. Is what you wished would have happened, that you would have went on to do something else. But
if only you had a time machine.
If you had a time machine, you could go back in time. I think you...
Regrets, I have a few.
Oh, yeah. And you could mention them now, but they're just going to fall on deaf ears because no one's going to care, right? People just don't care anymore about anybody's issues or problems that they might have. I got another call from Sirius XM Satellite Radio. This is like the third call in the last 3 days. I think they're desperate to get people to sign up. How much of a deal do you think they'll give me?
Or maybe they want to sign you to a new contract.
And I just signed my new 3-year deal here. No, I didn't. That could have been the phone call that was going to change my life. What if Sirius was serious? Are you serious about maybe finally that Taste Fairy commercial was about to pay off and I was going to get that syndicated talk show? Because those that know me know that's the reason why I did those silly commercials, a series of 3. I was the Taste Fairy for Subway. And those that know me allegedly told, remember CJ, the old gossip columnist in town with the Fish Wrap West Side? They told her she did some sleuthing, some snooping. Hey, snoopers. And she found out that somebody, I don't know if it was you, Tennessee, were you the one that told her? Did she contact you and you said, well, the reason he did those, he was hoping that he could parlay that into a national syndicated.
I always loved that one.
Radio show, because I thought that's what would do it. I mean, that's what, if you're going to get hired for a nationally syndicated sports talk show, they don't care about how you do your sports talk. They just want to know, how do you look in a fairy outfit? That's what they were looking for. I had no idea. I was hoping for it. It didn't turn
I missed the days of the CJ gossip column, and then also, remember the Judd Zelgad would do like the sports media?
Yes.
Right? Like, so if the Power Trip had a 20-year anniversary, like that would show up in the Star Tribune?
No, it'd be front page above the fold.
Yeah.
It would be. Yeah, that's the way they used to operate it. But anyways, I don't know. I guess maybe they're desperate for money. I'm not sure. We're all desperate for money, right? We're all looking for a change. I'm looking forward to a visit from the legendary Mark Rosen here at 2:00. Plenty to talk about after this weekend's National Football League activity. Did you watch last night's game at all, Tennessee? Did you catch any of that?
I saw a little of the last half of the fourth quarter.
How good was that? If you're a Lions fan. I mean, it's... Well,
my favorite is, I had to get some of the radio call highlights, the national radio call. Mm-hmm. And as they're setting up for that crucial fourth down, the one they ended up throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown, the analyst with Kevin Harlan, I don't know who it was, basically like, they're probably not going to go for it here on fourth down. Maybe they're just going to try to drum offsides because I wouldn't go for it here. I wouldn't test it. And then it's Dan Campbell.
Yeah, it's Dan Campbell.
How have you not learned that yet?
Same thing Aikman earlier on the Kitties' first tutty. There was like a 4th and 2, 5 or 6 yard line, 7, whatever it was. And Aikman was, when you're playing a really good team early in the game, I take the points every time. I just take the points, and all of a sudden, first down Kitties, and then they scored. I think they may have even scored a tutty on the very next play, but they got the first down. Either way, they did.
You don't win at Baltimore by kicking field goals.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't kick field goals. Again, last night was another example of, we always talk about week 1 overreaction, and there's week 2 overreaction and week 3. I mean, if you look at the 4 teams in the North after the opener when Green Bay at Curly dismantled Detroit, I mean, they neutered the Kitties, right? They spayed the Kitties is what they did. And people are saying, well, and then Green Bay won the following week, who they beat Washington. And all of a sudden, I know the power rankings. They went to the number 1 team in pro football.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Vikings pull a fat out of the fire, steal one against the Bears after 3 awful quarters. They steal one. Then they get bludgeoned by the Falcons. And now they're like, well, what are you going to do now? Team's not very good. They're in all sorts of trouble. Of course, then they rebound the next week and they absolutely dismantle the Bengals with Carson Wentz at quarterback. Bears first week lose to the Vikings. Then they get Detroit puts 52 up on them. Everybody's saying, well, Chicago's terrible. Then what does Chicago do? Now, again, Dallas isn't anything to write home about, but they played an almost nearly flawless game and beat the Cowboys. And then the Kitties, after losing to Green Bay, they rebound and crush the the Bears. And I remember what Rosen said. Well, that was the Bears. Wait till Monday night when they have to play Baltimore. Well, we waited till Monday night. I'd been waiting all day for Monday night, and we saw what
now
happened.
What do you think?
Yeah, just a splendid performance. So it's a locked and loaded NFC North, Tennessee. I think it's wide open. We had talked about that going into the season. On paper, it looked like the Vikings would be very good. Green Bay would be very good. Detroit would be very good. I actually thought Chicago, what they did against Dallas, I thought was going to be closer to what they would be like than what happened against Detroit. I still thought they were going to bring up the rear, but I thought, hey, new coach who's highly regarded, innovative offensive mind. They do have a quarterback that was selected number 1, and now you got an offensive-minded head coach that kind of knows what the heck he's doing, or we think he does. And then they restocked their offensive line. So I thought, hey, we might have 4 really good teams. It could be the equivalent of the AL Central last year when 4 teams were in it to the bitter end, and 3 of those teams made it into postseason play. It was Detroit and Cleveland, and Detroit, Cleveland, and Minnesota. Well, no, I guess it wasn't, but nonetheless, it was great. And I was expecting that now. And again, overreaction 3 weeks in, but it looks pretty fun. It looks like the division is it's going to be wild and woolly and topsy-turvy, Tennessee. And goes to show you on any given Sunday, we looked at that schedule. Look, let's say, Detroit at Baltimore, the panel on ESPN, each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
I picked Baltimore yesterday. Yeah.
Mark Rosen went head-to-head with me in spread swing and took Baltimore as well. He said, this is too easy. He said it was too easy, is what he said it was. So I guess it wasn't as easy. It ain't easy being easy.
No, it ain't.
But it's easy. So, it was...
congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I told Deuce that the first thing I was going to say to you is I was disappointed in you. To go, why? And I said, well, you didn't congratulate me on my Kitties win last night. That's one of you and I that we just love when if you're a fan of a team, someone will go up to you and say, hey, congratulations on your Wild. Like you had something, like you were out on the ice with them.
As if I did anything.
Yeah, like you did anything. It has nothing to do with any of us. But nevertheless, there you go. What happened?
Oh, my
trouble.
My bed just froze.
Yeah.
Let's try a new one.
Yeah. Your bed just froze. You want to turn up the heat. Get an extra blanket. Maybe a quilt. Hey, this kind of got a little...
We're up all night to get lucky.
Start singing. That's what it sounds like. It's got a little of that vibe to it. And if you got a cold bed...
all night to the sun.
And if you have a cold bed, you're probably going to be up all night trying to get warm rather than lucky. We'll break. We'll come back. A little This, That, Lot. You're on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars,
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
KFAN.
The Vikings will look to have the luck of the Irish this Sunday as they head across the pond to Dublin to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pregame starts at 6:30 a.m. Catch every touchdown, every sack, and every game-changing play right here on the audio home for Minnesota Vikings football. KFAN and on the go with the free iHeartRadio app.
Manly, yes, but she'll love it too. By Jove. We're going across the pond to Ireland. Why do they say by Jove in Ireland? I've never understood that. I'm the common man. He's 10 to be. The legendary one, Mark Rosen, will join us just before 2 o'clock. I know we tried to come up with some alliteration for PA's taken texts. Is that what we came up with? Because we had intercepted emails. To PA's stolen takes. No, that would be Rosen and Lieber. But anyway, a couple of text messages that came in. Apparently, the purveyor of positivity had the head coach on of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings. 2 came in that were questions actually for the coach, and they were for Coach KOC. How underrated was AT-19's contribution against the Bengals? Then another one. A question for the coach. These are from 2 different text messengers. How do you think Max did on Sunday? Thanks. Love you. Keep up the good work. I still am, even though I know it's I guess it's human nature, I'm still fascinated that if someone has some direct connection or even indirect connection to the land of 10,000 lakes, they're just fascinated with those people, and they root for them, and it's almost like they're a family member. It's like, I can tell you, the coach said yesterday during his day after the game news conference, he said he thought Thielen's performance was underrated. Now, Thielen, I guess it was a block or something or other, but as far as making catches, he's been invisible. He's just been completely invisible with the Vikings so far this week. So I know that when he first, I get when prodigal son returns home, everyone wants him to play like he did in the past, to return to those thrilling days of yesteryears. And sometimes that happens. More times than not, though, it's the old no one beats Father Time Teneby. You can use that, jot it down for future reference during a voyage of the Tenna Fitzgerald. And he might still end up contributing, as far as catching passes and yards after catch and other things. And there are other ways to contribute as a wide receiver. We get it. If you block well, that's good. But people are just, so he's been at best. And then as far as Max, there's not much to say. Max was basically just handing the ball off. I know we threw a couple of passes. One was dropped. I think I didn't. At that point, I was pretty much. It's a word I'm looking for. I was not laser focused on the game anymore. But neither guy made a difference in the game. So, but people are fascinated by. That's like when we signed Parisi, right? When the Vikings, when the Wild got Parisi, people just were beside themselves.
Sure.
And I guess that's just the way it's always going to be. On the other hand,
did you hear Carson Wentz was a Vikings fan growing up?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Why we like him. Well, that's why there were. And I don't know if these text messengers were doing it tongue in cheek, but when it was announced that Wentz would start, they were going, well, he's going to be fired up because he was a fan of the team. Like that was enough to make him play better. And then I use you as an example. You always wanted to work with Common and look at your performance. So it just because just because you were a fan of the team and you get to play for him, there might be some spring in your step, but I don't think that. And even if there is some excitement about that, remember when Mike Tyson used to say everybody's got a plan until you got punched in the face? It's the same thing. One's going to be excited about it, but once the game starts and the other team starts throwing stuff at you, I think you kind of forget that I'm playing for the team that I grew up rooting for, and you start wondering, how am I going to get myself out of this mess? Now, he never really had to, though again, early he wasn't real good, right? Early in the game, there wasn't.
Well, they scored first drive.
Yeah, but
then they had a couple.
Yeah, he did throw a couple of good passes. You're absolutely right. I take that back. He threw a couple of nice passes in that first drive. That was aided by some penalties against the Bungles, but that's their fault, not the Vikings. So yeah,
I mean, overall he was fine.
Yeah, he was fine. Right.
Compared to what we had seen the first 2 weeks, it looked really, really good.
Yeah, well,
maybe that's why people are overrating the performance. But clearly the defense, not only scoring twice, but putting him in great field position multiple other times as well. And then have them play with a comfortable lead also helps in terms of the game script and what you can do. And obviously they ran the ball well too.
PA's turnover texts. I like that.
Yeah,
turnover texts. Here's one that's someone's congratulating me. It says, congrats on converting that gutsy 4th and 1 last night to lock up your victory. What a great play, call, throw, and catch. Great job. I appreciate that. Thanks for the congratulations. I had a lot to do with what happened last night on the field. That was, and I know I've been chided by people over the past couple of years because ever since Campbell took over the team, even before the team started winning games, they had it last night again. He was, I think his first year, he was like 3-9-1. Then he went to 9-8. Then it was 12-4. And then last year was 15-2. His record just continued to get better. And he goes for it on 4th down more than any other coach in pro football. I think more coaches go for it now than they used to, and I think maybe some of that had to do with they see the success of the Lions. And you and I talked about that in the past. I'd always wondered why. I think we talked about this. Anytime, let's say the Vikings are playing anybody, let's say Green Bay, okay? If Green Bay's got like a 4th and 1 at the 50, I want them to punt. I don't want them to. I never, even before this real penchant for going for it, because I always felt like it's not that hard to convert 4th and 1. I'd rather they punt the ball back to us rather than go for it, get the first down, and extend the drive. And people will try, your meathead coach went for it again when it doesn't work. That's the way they operate, and I'm all for it. Well, I knew they were going for it last night, and the pass play did surprised me. I thought they were going to run the ball because they'd run the ball fairly effectively. I know that Demo had the 170, 75 yard or whatever it was run that kind of skewed yards per carry. They were averaging over 7 yards a carry, and a lot of it had to do with that. But with that long run, but they were running the ball very well last night. And I mean, if you saw the pass play and you heard Aikman talk about it, he's right. I mean, that throw had to be spot on, and it was. It was a perfect throw. Mm-hmm. And they were able to get the tutty out of it, too. And come to find out, they needed that because the Ravens ended up scoring, and then they tried the onside kick. But
I was wondering, I don't remember the exact timeout situation and times. But I was wondering if he was going to just go down before he got into the end zone.
After the game, they interviewed Goff, and he said that he goes, well, at first I was hoping he'd go down, but I guess now it looks like we needed the points. But yeah, he wanted him to go down. But
but you could have also milked the clock and then kicked a chip shot field goal, and it's 10 points. It's over. Yeah, so I actually do think it was the odds of them winning decreased when he went into the end zone.
Yes, I think you're probably right, but it worked out for them. And then if you watch Campbell's news conference, he's at the news conference and complimentary football, I just love these guys. He doesn't really say anything. Well, of course, a lot of coaches don't, right? He doesn't really get into the X's and O's and what happens. But, so Vikings have the Steelers. Packers have, I don't have their schedule in front of me. Who do the Packers have this week?
That's a good question.
Kitty's got the Browns at Pontiac. So, I mean, again, the Browns just upset the Packers. So I'm not.
Packers are Dallas on Sunday night.
Okay. Again, any given Sunday, blah, blah, blah. But I would think
Packers got a pretty favorable schedule coming up.
And playing, is it at home or are they at Dallas?
They're at Dallas.
But still, Dallas is Dallas. I think Green Bay is a superior team. I don't think that, I mean, even after what happened against Cleveland, I still, you would think Green Bay wins that. I would hope Detroit wins at home against Cleveland. And the Vikings, if they uphold their end of the bargain and win across the pond against A-Rod and the Steelers, will be, it should be fun. The division looks really good. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More to get to. And then Mark Rosen just before 2 here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars.
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Minneapolis, it's time to put on your baggy sweatshirt and get ready to laugh. Comedy icon Adam Sandler is bringing his You're My Best Friend tour to the Grand Casino Arena on October 22nd. Don't miss out on brand new jokes, classic bits, maybe even a song or two. Tickets are on sale now. Get the full details at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
So in other words, he hasn't really written a lot of material because he says, how is that said? New
classic bits.
Well, but what's before that?
New jokes.
New jokes.
Classic bits.
In other words, I wrote a couple of new jokes. It sounds like meat sauce. More common. Rat wrote a couple. Well, meat sauce never writes a joke. So yeah, I've written a couple of new jokes, and then and we're still doing that show up in Spicer, New London. Max is on the green, and I texted Corey today. I said, moribund, tepid, or brisk? And he said, tepid. So it's between moribund and brisk. I mean, I'd rather have it brisk. You got to go to that event. What is that called? Event bar,
Eventbrite?
Eventbrite. And you can get tickets and see meat sauce, a stale, dull, old routine. But I've got some new stuff. Put it this way. I've got a couple new jokes and some classic bits. Is what I've got. I'm very Adam Sandler-like in that regard. Tenneby, are you a believer in revenge as a motivation in sports? Is your whole life just sports?
Sure.
Then maybe Micah Parsons might have some revenge.
We call them spite games.
Spite games?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a spite game for Micah Parsons?
Oh, yeah.
He'll want, he probably doesn't need a lot of motivation to play well. He's considered one of the best pass rushers in all of football, if not the best. But now he's playing.
But didn't the Packers also send a defensive lineman to Dallas? So there'd be a spike game there.
Is his name Clark? Kenny Clark?
Kenny Clark.
So Kenny Clark's got a little revenge motive as well. And Kenny more than Micah, maybe even because Micah apparently had a deal with Dallas, but because his agent didn't do it, he was willing to stay. Kenny Clark, I think, was delighted to be in Green Bay and had no qualms about playing there. And all of a sudden say, by the way, you're collateral damage. We needed Micah more than you, and so maybe you're right. I think that might even be the revenge motive there. Might even be more intense for Kenny Clark. My sources tell me. What's Dart's first name? Is it Jackson? That he's going to start this week.
Yes, they've named him the starter.
They did name him. Okay, then my source was correct. And if you're the Giants, why not, right? I get it. You have Russ Wilson, and if by hook or by crook the team gets off to a nice start and he's brilliant, you're 3-0. Hey, got a veteran quarterback who's been to a big game. But when they're 0-3 now, right? Terrible team, terrible city, terrible fans, terrible stadium. They've got nothing going for themselves. So you went ahead and invested the draft pick on the kid. You may as well.
And he looked good in the preseason.
Yeah,
whatever you want to make of preseason football. But let's just say he was throwing darts in preseason.
Hey-oh! Hey-oh! Yeah, he was throwing darts.
Do you think the touchdown call for Jackson Dart, bullseye?
Oh, I like that. Or maybe they'll call him D'Artagnan. What else did I have for you? Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about. Fish Wrap Factory West Side today. Mark Craig, NFL writer for the Fish Wrap, talked about what we did yesterday as well after the day after the game news conference. Kevin O'Connell was asked about, hey, do we got a quarterback controversy here? And they didn't ask it in that exact way. But they asked about, hey, what are we going to do with Wentz, and if Wentz is playing well, and when McCarthy comes back healthy, what are you going to do? And what Craig writes is, O'Connell danced around the question for a little while, mentioning the 10,000 reps and 10,000 hours it takes to play the position at a high level before adding, quote, it also doesn't require an answer on that question today. I think our goal was to win a football game. We're in the day after. We're preparing for another top-tier opponent. End of the quote. Then Craig writes, O'Connell gave himself time to make a longer-term decision, saying McCarthy has to get healthy first. Then he built in a little extra time, saying McCarthy needs to be as mobile as he was before the injury, because that's not one of his greatest strengths at this point in his very young career. And we talked about that, and that's on the minds of everybody. That's watching the Vikings, either as a fan or media or whatever the case may be. That the other than the one quarter in which McCarthy's performance against the Bears earned him NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors, he was abysmal. I think that was a word you used, abysmal for 7 of the 8 quarters. So it makes the decision a little bit easier to say, I don't know if I can go back to that. I mean, it could be just, beginning of your career jitters. Could be the other teams are throwing a lot of stuff at you because, you're basically a rookie quarterback for all intents and purposes. Or it could be, it was so bad, I don't know if we can do that again, especially now that we're 2-1. We got to win. Wentz was fine. And we even discussed the possibility if it was one of those, well, his ankle is, we got to give him a break. Whereas, as the example I used when it was first announced that he had the ankle sprain, he was going to be out. If he had been quarterback all year and you're going into week 17 in a must-win situation, my guess is they would tape it up and he'd play. Maybe not. Maybe it's that bad he couldn't play right away. But and for all the reasons we've talked about, it's more than just building one guy's career. I know you want to build the franchise around him. Everybody builds around a quarterback, and you want a franchise quarterback, and they moved up to get the 10th pick and this, that, and all of that. But still, if you're in the here and now and he's not very good, and you feel like the way they played, again, on the Bengals or the Bungles, I guess they're not as maybe as good as we thought they were, but the way they manhandled him like that with stellar defensive play, went steady, good running game. If you go back to McCarthy and he's brutal again, I guess you can go the other direction, but then that creates all sorts of issues as well, don't you think? You know what by issues, meaning that now do you got to go back to Wentz again? Like if McCarthy, let's say you win 2 games in a row. Let's say you win both games across the pond and you go to 4-1. Then you play, I think it's Philly. And let's say he's just brutal against Philly and you get drilled, he's bad. Do you go, well, guess I just got to keep playing him, or do you say, no, we got to go back to Wentz?
The NFL is a win-now league, right? There's a couple extenuating circumstances of teams that are, Tennessee, right? Like they got Cam Ward. They're a rebuilding team. They're one of the worst teams in football last year. They don't need to win on September 23rd in 2025. But the Vikings built a roster that is one of the oldest in the league, that is thought to be a great spot for a quarterback to be. And you're going to play whoever gives you the best chance to win. And that doesn't mean J.J. McCarthy's long-term development is over if he's not that guy. There was a reason they flirted with Daniel Jones and wanted him back. There's a reason they flirted with Aaron Rodgers. There were even rumors of them reaching out to Kirk Cousins in the offseason.
Right.
For that very situation of, hey, we like JJ. We don't know if he's going to be ready to carry a win-now team. We want to make sure we have insurance in case he's not ready to win. And I'm not saying he's not ready, because we just haven't seen enough, and he has not been put in a great situation so far with the offensive line play he received. But, ultimately, we can have all this conversation we want, and then if Carson goes and lays an egg on Sunday, the conversation is going to change at that point.
That's right. That's right.
But if Carson continues to play at the way he played Sunday, at a minimum, if that's the low baseline for him, if he plays at that level or better, and the team's winning, you keep going with him.
I agree.
And it's not going to be. And if J.J. McCarthy's ego is so fragile that he can't handle it, well, then he's not meant to be a starting quarterback in this league anyway.
And that was my point going back to the offseason when there was that dalliance with Rodgers, if there really was. I think Rodgers was serious, and that's why he met with O'Connell. And if you'll remember when O'Connell was asked about it, just prior to the season starting, he said, well, we've been friends forever, and we just a conversation. He, it was almost like he was doing, because of the respect for Rodgers, he didn't want to just, go on the phone. Aaron, if what you're looking for is a starting job here, it ain't going to happen. Get back to me. We'll talk to you some other time. He invited him in, let him talk. And my guess is I think probably the way the conversation went down was he just said, Aaron, I love you and everything, but I got to go with the young kid. That's what the organization wants to do. Ownership, general manager. I said, that's what we're going to do. We love you. Good luck to you wherever you may be. But that's the same thing. The comeback for people was, well, then now you're just going to make JJ mad. Well, that's football. That's the way it is, man. I mean, Rodgers was mad in Green Bay when he had to sit for 3 years. He was mad because he didn't get selected for the 24th pick. Remember, he was annoyed with San Francisco because that's where he wanted to play, wasn't it? The
yes.
49ers. So he was mad about that. So guys get mad all the time. Guys feel slighted all the time. Well, guess what? It's like you say, it's big business in pro football, whether you want to believe it or not. And so you teams have to make decisions.
Play better too.
Yeah,
I mean, we've only gotten a little small window of them, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
The other aspect of this is he's now had two. Last year was a very significant injury, and here's another injury that's out 2 to 4 weeks. Like, the team also has to have someone they can depend on who's going to be in that role day in, day out. And right now, still a lot of time to go, but JJ hasn't proven he can do that.
Here's a text message that came in on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line that says, but they didn't sign Rodgers. They didn't sign Daniel. They're all in on McCarthy. You're all in on a guy until you're not all in on a guy. I'm sorry, man. I mean, yeah, they're all in on him, I think, long term. But as you just stated so eloquently, by the way, that I believe that if Wentz continues to play, like you say, baseline bottom, he's at, as the coach called him, a point guard at quarterback, gets to the ball to the right people. The defense still plays well. I think you have to continue to go. Now they might not. He could very well say, "Hey Carson, thanks for caretaking the place. Time now to put the baseball cap and the clipboard back on, and you're going to be back on the bench, or we're going to try McCarthy again." But that can be dangerous, especially if the team is winning. If they are 4-1, you put him back in because you're all in on him, and he lays an egg, and you're now 4-2, and he's bad. I'm sorry. I guarantee he'll be out of the line the next week. And if not, then if they give him one more and he's bad again, you got to, for the organization, for the fans, for the team, for you can't. I'm sorry.
I'm actually curious the other way around. Let's say Carson Wentz is awful Sunday in Philadelphia, or not in Philadelphia, in Dublin,
right,
against the Steelers. Let's say he's awful. Throws 3 picks, 17 of 32.
Right.
3 picks for 114 yards. At what point do they go, we kind of want to see what Max Brosmer's got, right? Yeah. And that's what I was wondering. Well, what if Max Brosmer at some point gets a shot, and he looks really good? Because it ain't just the old veteran now versus your young up and coming first rounder. It's now another young player that you could potentially develop into your starting quarterback.
Yeah. No, hey, that's it.
I'm not ready to rule that out.
That's exactly right. Then Ben Gessling wrote a piece today about the quarterback situation. Analysis. What Vikings QB J.J. McCarthy can learn from watching Carson Wentz? Well, I think I'm not saying there isn't some value in that, but he spent a season watching Sam Darnold. And old Sam Darnold has an arm, E-I-E-I-O, and he was brilliant until he wasn't. And again, as we talked about over and over again in the Detroit game, I think he had a bad case of the jitters. He overthrew open receivers. Against the Rams, I'll give him a little bit of the blame, but that was mostly because that offensive line was getting steamrolled. I mean, there was it 7 or was it 9 sacks on Wentz or on Darnold, and they didn't blitz once, and that's why they made the change. Immediately following the game, the head coach says we got to rebuild the interior of our offensive line. So I'm not. There is maybe some value in McCarthy watching Wentz. veteran quarterback who was taking a team to the big game in a second year until he incurred a season-ending injury, and then Nick Foles came in, and we all know what happened there. But the watching another quarterback work, while there's some value in it, I don't know. He watched
not in year two. He had a whole year of doing it last year.
Exactly, and he watched a guy play really well all of last year.
You know, but even both Darnold and Carson Wentz ain't exactly Tom Brady that you're watching him. How he breaks down defenses. He doesn't need any more watching time. He shouldn't. If he does, we're in trouble.
Yes. Here is another text message that says, let's see what JJ does when Darisaw comes back. Well, yeah, that will make a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't think maybe I guess he's not addressing, your take and my take. I'm all in on McCarthy. You have to. You've invested that. But what I'm not all in on is in the here and now. What's happening from game to game, week to week. I think you can't, if you have a team. The Giants can go with Jackson Dart now and let them play because they're terrible. They're 0-3. They're not going anywhere except to the cellar of the NFC East. The Vikings at 2-1 again, it's the week 1, week 2, week 3 overreactions, and it sure seemed like Cincinnati. I don't know how they were 2-0 when they had Burrow because maybe all the credit should go to the Vikings. Maybe they were the ones that made the Bengals look just like an awful team. Maybe it was all on them. I think part of it was the Bengals just aren't very good either, particularly on the line. And so, but
I will say, you're using the all-in term, and I don't think you're using it that way, but I don't think you have to be all in on J.J. McCarthy, right? Like, I completely respect the San Francisco 49ers in that they gave up 3 first-round draft picks to move up and get Trey Lance.
Yep.
And, they gave him a chance, but at some point they realized he's not the guy. We can't keep trying to force it.
Right.
They ended up using Mr. Irrelevant and go, hey, we really like this guy. And they weren't afraid to play their last pick in the 7th round over the guy they gave up 3 first. They put their egos away. The GM put his ego away, knowing that that's a failed draft pick. That was a failed trade, but said, we need to, the quicker you are to move on. And I'm not saying JJ McCarthy is Trey Lance. We have not nearly gotten close to that. Right. But I think it's very important. There's not enough GMs in sports that once they make a mistake are quick enough to try to rectify it. They all keep trying to force it because it looks bad on them if one of their picks didn't play to fruition.
Yeah. A lot of controversy. I'll tell you. That's
interesting.
It's been controversial since the beginning of the show today. Well, it's been like always. It's been fast paced, action packed, and controversial. Even more so when the legendary one, Mark Rosen, joins us next here on the Common Man program on the Fan.